I'm lucky here to be in Kingston on Bainbridge Island.
Nope. Bainbridge. So we are here in Kingston and the Kitsap Peninsula in North Kitsap.
Okay.
We're directly across the water from Edmonds, Washington, which is just north of Seattle.
I'm with Will Grant, Sourdough Willy's. That's a Some Pizza. Best beard in the industry.
Second to yours, I think, at this point.
Second to Tiziano's.
Yes, Tiziano's is amazing.
Well trimmed, all right? And usually, I start with what's good dough, but I don't start there anymore. Put that at the end. And so I want to start us actually with the number one rule of Sourdough Willy.
Number one rule at Sourdough Willy's is no casualties.
And why is that the number one rule?
Well, you know, it's about safety first. It's about making sure people are okay and we're good with it. And that's the priority here, is the people. The people have to be the priority, because I know it's such a loaded question, right? Because as I've evolved in who I am, from being a kid holding a sourdough starter at 6 years old and making pizzas and being a chef's apprentice, to now I feel like I'm kind of a dad of my company, of my business. I'm a leader, a father figure, and helping lead people to be the best versions of themselves. And for me to do that, they need to put themselves first also, especially in this industry. It's so easy, you know, you see always the memes or the stories of the kitchen staff sitting down eating, everyone gets all upset about it, but the reality is the kitchen staff loved someone made them stop and eat for 5 minutes. To this day, I still eat standing up in my kitchen, because that's the life of a restaurant. That's the life of a kitchen person. So the idea that we're putting safety first and the people first really is what I want to resonate with my company and who they are and who I am.
I like the father figure approach, right? You can look at yourself as the top dog, the man of the house, the patriarch, or it could be a women-owned business, the opposite, right? The matriarch, whatever. But at the end of the day, you are taking care of the house. But in order to take care of the house, you have to take care of the people.
Exactly.
And if there are casualties within the house, you're in trouble.
Right, and you're working a lot, right? you're covering shifts, right? You know, if something happens to someone, you got to get someone else there to actually work that shift, or just, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's always about taking care of the customers. And you can't take care of the customers if half your staff aren't in there, just from not thinking of safety and trying to do common sense is the first thing they're doing there, right? And it's easy to get caught up in what's next, not what's now, right? Especially when you've got overwhelming amount of orders in front of you. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's now?
But why that choice of words? Because when you said no casualties, I couldn't help but laugh. Because it's
that's
so
part
extreme.
of it too. That's what, you know, one of the things I like to do here is I like to make it fun that way. I like to joke around. I like to have a light atmosphere here too. One of my expressions I say a lot is I laugh a lot, because otherwise I cry a lot. Because there's a lot of stress here. There's a lot of, you will have a line, out the door, 20, 30 people on this side. We'll have a line, 20, 30 people on this side. It's slamming in here, and they got to take care of themselves. They got to take care of one customer at a time, and it's really easy to get really anxious and look at the 30th guy and go, how am I going to get to that guy? I always try to teach my staff to focus on each order right in front of you. Just do that one order perfect, and you work on the next one. You do that next one. If there's a mistake, growing up in the business the way I did, my parents had no restaurant experience when they came. I remember when I was a kid and I was a chef's apprentice, I watched my dad, he'd walk into the kitchen and he'd stare at all the staff. And he had a wider beard than me, bigger than me. He looked like Santa, but he just evil eye everyone in there. And they just get anxious and they make a mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And I realized that the owners and the management need to take care of the staff. The staff team takes care of the customers, and the customers come back to take care of the managers also. So it's a cycle. This is a living being, right? This isn't just pizza. This is Friday night with someone's family. This is every person that works for me and every person that lives with them. They depend on the business here. They depend on how well things go. It's a living organism, and we're all different parts of it. That's why I try to grow to let other people grow with it too. Because we had talked earlier about, people staying forever and thinking it's restaurant businesses are 100% turnover. Even the best employees, someday you're going to be a Laura Meyer, you're going to open your own new restaurant, right? And that's what you want as a leader. You want to help people be better versions of themselves. So focusing on them, knowing that they're important through this all really gives them a sense of pride too in what they're doing. Because that's, we talk about big issues in the industry. People don't have the pride to do this work anymore. They think it's beneath them. So the more pride you give people in what they're doing, the more people are going to gravitate towards that pride and happiness towards doing something also. So number one rule at Sourdough Willy's, and that's the pizzas, no casualties. And it's a lighthearted way to say, you matter to me.
You matter to me. We're going to take care of each other, because that's the only way this business works.
Mm-hmm. It's life in general. It's not just business, it's life. And it's so crazy to think that you spend more time with the people you work with than your family at home. So make sure it's people you like working with, and they want to be there. You don't want people that don't want to be here. It makes for a horrible work environment. If you have to be away from your family, have it be in a good, positive environment. And it's taken me a long time to kind of get to this point. I realize it has to be the leaders and who you have. Sometimes you have to bring someone from outside of your organization in to really help lead your team. I mean, all this is theory, and then there's reality, right? If I didn't have the reality of this gentleman behind there, Tim Brown in here, to lead this team positively, make sure everyone's smiling, make sure everyone's on point, it wouldn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen for a long, long time. I would go to compete and come back and have the same issues I was trying to get them to do before I was going. Cleaning things, recipes. I could only stretch myself so much, but having someone like him here and having these leaders like Katamia who's competing, and Maddie who is back there, Josh there, that really care and they buy into the idea and they care. It was cool last night. Josh kept saying we had a little too much to drink, and it was our employee party, just for discretion for the podcast. It was my holiday party last night, so I'm a little slow in my speech.
We haven't had any drinks right now, but this was yesterday.
Not yet. But last night, when one of my head cooks was in here saying, you don't need to care about this because I care about this so much, or we care about this so much for you. And it's amazing because this is my child. This is what I love so much. And to know that every single person in here loves this place as much as I do, that as a person or as a father figure or anything like that, that's all you could ever ask for in everyone here. And just seeing that last night with all the staff, how much fun they were having. This is 39 years my family's been in the business. Next year's gonna be 40 years. I've never had as many employees show up to a holiday party as we did last night. It was really cool. I wore a suit and tie. I'd say 3/4 of the people had suits on or bow ties on. All the women were just dressed beautiful holiday dresses. And it was just so fun to really celebrate them and celebrate our team together and know that we could shut down the restaurant for a day for them to be appreciated for who they are.
It's amazing. I'm going to have you choose your own adventure here, all right? You can either talk about when you decided, I'm going to take this route of letting go and how you got there, because I imagine there's someone listening to this podcast thinking, I want to get to that point. Mm-hmm. On the other side of the adventure, I want you to talk about how you create that culture. And is it, I find the manager first and the rest falls into play? Because I also imagine someone's listening on the podcast and thinking, I want to create a culture like Will. I don't know if we have time for both questions, so.
I think they work together. They have to do both at the same time.
Okay.
Because the hardest part for me is growing up in the industry. In my family, if I wanted to change a position, I would have to quit. My parents would pigeonhole you in one position. He's good at dishes. He's good at dishes for a few years. There's opening and prep. Well, I couldn't get to it, so I had to quit and go back to the family job to get to the next position. So I had to fight my way through it. So thinking about it in the fact that I don't want it to be fought the way through it. I don't want people to be pigeonholed in these spots like that. I think the reality of it is you need to give people the ability to grow as who they are, because you can't expect for yourself to grow if they can't grow. So I fought for every single position I had here, and then here I am on top, still fighting for every single position I had in here. I'm one person. There's no way I can be successful and do it. And I see a lot of guys out there that they make beautiful pizza, they do a great job, but they can't grow past what they are because it's them doing everything. And for me, for a long time, I thought I was doing my staff a favor by doing all the ordering, all the cleaning, everything. I thought it was helping them so they didn't have to worry about it as much. But the reality is it wasn't. They wanted to do more. What I've learned over the years is people want to do a good job, and people want to prove to you that they can do a good job. So me doing everything for them made them not want to be a part of it, and made them leave me more often than staying with me. So by giving them the opportunity to grow, by me stepping back, it exploded. People, I have one employee, Milena, who's been with me for 15 years now. I think that's my best accomplishment in this business, besides the Caputo Cup and all the awards and stuff. But having her, Tim's been with me a year and a half. I've had Mia for 3 years, Zach for I think 5 years now. It's having that team that believes in me and what I'm doing. That's what it's really all about. And that's getting that team, because it's never perfect. It's never perfect to make that change. I'll never stop micromanaging. I'll never be all the way out. It's who I am. It's what I do. I have what I call a Tourette style management. I walk in, I see immediately what's wrong, and I just say it. Because I used to have the problem where I wouldn't say it, and then I get mad at everyone for not fixing what I didn't tell them to fix.
Yeah. Oh, you just blow up for like the littlest thing, but it was really because it was tied to the other thing that you saw that pissed you off. I've been there.
And so I got managers, got the spot. I kept doing everything. But one thing I kind of realized too is with my micromanaging and with my Tourette style of management like that, if I have a little bit of a bad day, it's funny, my mother-in-law used to always say, if the United States has a cold, the Dominican Republic has a flu. It's bad, right? And so I see that with, if I come in a bad mood, my staff is in a horrible mood. And then it kills the vibe of what you're trying to do, right? We're trying to sell people love through sourdough and starter. We're not trying to push it on them. We want them to come here and enjoy it. If you can go to McDonald's and have the best burger and best meal of your life because of who you're with and the service you had there. You can go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and have the worst steak in your life for the most amount of money you ever paid, because you got a snotty hostess, you got an uptight waiter, and just there's a whole vibe. This, like we talked about before, this is a living organism. If it's not healthy, it shows you. It's like a dough ball, right? Every time you touch that dough, it shows you. It doesn't lie. It says, here I am. Here's that thumbprint. It's the same with an unhealthy restaurant. You can walk in, you can feel the vibe. You can tell people happy to be there. Do they want to be there, or do they not want to be there? And that is, I've been able to do by not being in here, right? Because here I am, I have employees of 15, 6, 7 years. I'll walk into my shop, they look at me, oh God, they're dropping stuff. They're making mistakes. It's, my face is everywhere, right? I got these podcasts.
Shoot, it's the boss.
Yeah, oh God. So here I am now. It's the point I come in to help, and I make things freaking worse in here. And that's the last thing. And it's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to make them anxious. They kick ass. Everyone runs up to me. I go anywhere in the county now. I love your pizza. You make the best pizza in the world. I say, thank you so much. But it's not me. It's that team. It's the people in there every single day. That's what it takes to master something, not talking about it. It's doing it every single day.
When you decided to let go, I don't know if it was like an ownership thing, like I had to touch every dough ball, or were you at a point where you weren't ready financially to let go?
A little bit of both. I think for me, I wanted to, I fought so hard for every position I had. I felt, okay, I fought for it. Hey, buddy. I had to, I fought, so it's mine. I have to fight for it. This is what I want. This is what I need. And I ran it for a long time, but it was destructive. I was going through managers left and right, and it was horrible. It's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to alienate all my employees. And then once I realized the more, I used to have a saying for it, it's a horrible saying, but when I give enough rope to someone to hang themselves, right? You give them opportunity to make mistakes. And that's really what I try to do now. I try to tell my team, I give you the opportunity to fail. And want you to fail, because you're going to learn. You're going to fail. It's a restaurant. There's going to be a mistake. There's going to be a rush. Shit's going to happen. It's a high stress, high volume. I mean, every year we've been open here, we've doubled in business from the year before. We've quadrupled in 3 years of being open here. It's, it helps opening COVID, right? Helps from one side to the other side, right? Adding pasta, adding 7 days, but always growing, but with that growth, it's made it really a busy restaurant. So I need to have my team focused on the business, not focused whether I'm in there. And that's really what I found for me really is, because I stepped away and I'd hire managers and they just do it. But for some reason, managers have this idea that they feel like because they're manager, they have to know it all and that they're bothering me if they ask me any questions. Well, that's horrible because I've been doing this for 40 years now. There's stuff they're not going to know that they need to ask me about, but they can't. So
wow, that's a good perspective.
It's just the truth, and they have to ask those questions, but they won't. It's a one thing across the board. Every person in the world, everyone has a hard time asking for help. So as a manager, as an owner, what I do is weekly, I do meetings with my managers. And it's really been life-changing for me. That's the biggest thing that's made a difference with my restaurants and made it so I could step out to focus on the bigger picture or really rip myself out right out of here because I fought so hard for it. I had to rip myself out of it to really go forward with it. So once a week, and it's important, off-site, I take all my leads to lunch. And we go to a different restaurant every time. They get a pick. We go over the numbers of the week. We go over any issues that we've seen with the establishment for a week.
Are they asking to go to Ruth Chris's Steakhouse?
No. I keep it around here. That's a little ways to go. I felt like we had some Ruth Chris last night at that party. It was pretty cool. I try to tell you, there's always something going on in a restaurant. Like even me here talking to you, there's always, hey, Will, hey, Will, hey. Well, it's the same for them. Hey, Maddie, hey, Tim. Hey Josh. So to take them out of that environment gives them a breath to actually think about what they want to talk to you about. And two, it gives the opportunity to talk about other people without feeling uncomfortable about it. And then on top of that, the third one is I get to spoil them by taking them out for lunch and get to see how the competition runs and see how their ambiance is, see what we can learn from these other restaurants too. See, and it's been amazing. And a lot of these guys, like me, all they do is work. So now all my managers, once a week, they can look forward to me taking them out to lunch, sitting down with them for an hour and a half, talking about their week, talking about issues they might have or might be coming up on. So it's been fun and giving them that opportunity to make mistakes. They're pushing more and they're doing more and they're succeeding more because they're not afraid of failing. So they're actually able to accomplish so much more. They're telling me they want to do weekly meetings. They're telling me they want to do monthly meetings with the whole staff now.
So outside of coming in and doing your Tourette style management and then coming and then doing your once a week meetings, what do you do outside of those hours? Are you chilling on the beach in the DR?
I wish I was in DR all the time on the beach because it's some beautiful beaches, some beautiful food and beautiful people. Really, my wife has a big family there, so we love our time in the DR. We love Puerto Plata, the northern coast, Punta Cana. It's pretty cool. Casa de Campo is always a cool one.
Casa de Campo?
Casa de Campo was owned by, it was Frank Sinatra was the owner for a while. Julio Iglesias is one of the owners of it. They have a big outdoor auditorium where they used to play live music. They still do. Jay-Z and Pitbull go there all the time and play. There's this one restaurant there called Ono's. And they're literally, we were going to this restaurant, but because we're on the beach all day, we go to eat we're American. We eat around 4 or 5 and we're out by 7 or 8 after drinking beers on the beach all day. Well, by the third day we go and we look at all these, where the photos with the the Polaroids. We look at all these Polaroids on the bathroom doors and we're looking at them and my wife's like, is that Oprah Winfrey? I'm like, is that Jay-Z?
What?
Is that Beyonce?
Yeah.
So all these celebrities go to this freaking bar there, and they were all there when we were there, just right after us, because we were the tourists that were there drinking all day and then sleeping early, because Dominican culture, they come in later. But besides going to the DR...
Yeah, jokes aside, I think people really, I think there are two fears. One, I won't know what to do with my time and I might squander it. And then two, it's if I'm stepping back, I am making that financial business risk to bring someone in, so they're making that money. I feel pressure to do something with my time to grow the business.
It perpetuates itself, right? Once you get the positivity in there and you get people in there, you get the business in there, it perpetuates itself. And then the reality is you got to focus on other things. You need to focus on marketing, right? My biggest job is, you go to these different classes. You learn from people like Glenn Cybulski. You learn from Dan the Pizza Man. Amazing people. Who was it? The local guys too. There's been quite a few people over the years at Pizza Expo. I've learned so much for the seminars there. But they say the most expensive thing in a restaurant is an empty seat. How do you fill these seats? Well, I found when I was running a restaurant from the inside, especially managing it, I was looking week to week. I was looking order to order. Every Tuesday, Monday for Tuesday order, and every Thursday for Friday order. That's as much as I could plan. As I kind of stepped out, I realized I could, and I had other people doing those orders, I could go month to month. But once I got a regional and general managers in, I could step out. Now I can look quarter to quarter, year to year. What are the things we need to do to make us more successful? I feel that it's my job as an owner to make things as easy as possible for my staff. Yes, I want to test them to make sure they're all doing a great job, but I want them to make a test that they can win at, that they can be successful at. So I really focus on efficiency, on ordering things, on making sure that they got everything they need here to go well, and then also marketing for them. Getting lately the menus, these new menus from Mailwise have just been amazing for us. Having being able to share our story, our drinks on these, and our new menu items are great. But we did a mailer, so opening up in COVID is a kind of a fun one. I couldn't do a grand opening. Usually we always do grand openings at our restaurants. We couldn't do that here. We were lucky a week after we opened, the local King 5 affiliate posted us online, so we had people driving from all over the country to come visit us, but we never really got to know the community that way. So what I decided to do was, I said, how do I let people know I'm here? How do we show that this new restaurant that I've worked my whole life on is here now? What do? Do I do TV? Do I do radio? Do I do online? I don't know if any of that's going to work, but what I do know is if I mail a menu to every single person in this Kitsap Peninsula, it was I think 8 different towns, it's 50,000 people, we mailed our menus to. So every week for the last 5 months, we've been mailing 3,000 menus to every single address in Kitsap Peninsula. And the whole idea behind it was, I'll know for sure, you might not look at my menu, but I know you're going to look at my face and know it's going to be hand even when you throw it in the trash, right? So then people know, and that's brand recognition.
Yeah.
And that's, by me being out and being able to do that, really made a big difference of, once again, sitting butts in seats is really what your job is as a restaurateur. It's getting customers in the door and making sure things are running well so you can take care of them.
Everyone can do a better job at marketing, improving the little things, the processes, trying out new stuff.
This isn't new. This is literally the oldest thing in the book.
New for
them. It's the first, but it's new for even the county. So no one around here is doing mailers, like no one. And so I'm the one, no coupons. I'm the expensive place. When I open a business, I don't see where everyone is and try to be middle of the pack or lowest and all like that. I find what everyone else's prices are, and I do $1 or $2 more because I want to elevate the industry. I don't want to detract from the industry. I've learned over the years that if I made it an affordable restaurant, casual affording dining, everyone thought I was low class. Everyone thought I was cheap because it was inexpensive. I turn around, I charge more for the same product. I'm all of a sudden the best because I'm the most expensive. So people put value with money for like that. And everything we do here is training and a mind game with people. So might as well tell people you're the best and get them to spend more money.
Yeah.
Because we used to do coupons all the time too. So we would do half off, 2 for $22s. We have to work twice as hard for the same amount of freaking money. And when you're doing the turnover all the time, and that was actually one of the biggest things I learned about marketing. When my mom had finally retired in 2013, I had to rip the business from her, like I said, to run it. I was like, oh crap, I have it. What am I going to do now? So I need to do a marketing calendar. I need to market. So I remember Pizza Man Dan. He, this guy is amazing. What this guy does is out of control. If you go to any seminar at Peaks Expo, it isn't mine, go to Pizza Man Dan's, right? So I asked him, I said, who does your social media marketing, your marketing calendar? He just showed me one of his buddies. I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to feel like a butthead for not remembering it. So he said his photographer with the show was his guy doing the marketing. And so I went up to him during the show and I said, tell me how to do a marketing calendar. He said, no, you're not ready. And he ran off. And I got freaking pissed. Like, who's this guy to tell me I'm not ready to start marketing my restaurant? So I literally spent the whole rest of the Pizza Expo running after this photographer for the show, trying to tell him how ready I was. And then he explained to me, you're not ready for it. You need to have your team ready for it. You can't go out there spending all this money on marketing to have your team not be able to make a consistent pizza. You need to have the training in place so you know that your base is covered so you can handle anything you take them and you bring to them. And that really showed me that I needed the team, that, safety had to be first, no casualties, right? We needed a good base for me to do all this. Because once again, the idea, the persona, the speeches, everything, it's to get butts and seats. And how can I do that more? And it's by sharing who I am that way. So they need to have that base for it. And so it's always, and that was another thing too, you get to a point, why am I on the World Pizza Champion team? Why am I doing all this traveling everywhere? Is it for my ego? Is it for my business? And you got to realize it's been hard for me because it's not about my ego. It is about the business, but I have to put myself out there. So it seems like ego, but the reality is I'm getting people in my restaurant because that's really what it's all about. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's about the families that depend on this team, on this living being. And I love the idea that it's alive and everyone has their different position in it. And you can't go forward if all those positions aren't full, right? If there's no one to be accountable for what needs to be accountable, how are you going to grow with that? You can't.
I kind of like how you subtly lined what operators should be doing. When you step out, you make sure the foundation, the product is set, the people are set. After that, you go work on marketing and bring those butts and seats because the product is ready. Now, what's next? After you market, do you just market more? Do you go compete? Because that's a form of marketing. What do you see as next on your timeline?
Well, for me, it's about, it's sharing, right? And my grandfather used to have a saying, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. So how can I get and grow what I'm doing? Well, I can do it with these classes. I learned so much from all these other people, and I've learned people love what I have to share, and I have 40 years of experience now. Why not try to make more people successful? And it kind of comes back to the idea, my pizzeria is the most expensive around town. It's not because I think I'm better than anyone else, because I want to pull everyone up. It's the same for the pizza industry. I want to raise the pizza industry up. We don't need to be out there, competition of Pizza Hut, Domino's, these chains, that's not competition. What we do is we're artists. We have canvases for every piece of dough we make, and we really make this amazing product for people to have. I think it's important, I love my last class I did, approachable artisan doughs, because I think every single person that goes to the Pizza Expo is an artisan in what they do. They care about so much. They're gonna travel halfway across the nation to learn more, to be better at what they're doing. That's a freaking artist to me. And it's a whole, you've seen it, you want to be a part of this. Pizza community is amazing. People are so passionate about what we do. We need to build each other up. We don't compete with anyone, even in your own town. You compete with yourself. It's the same when you're actually competing out there. I'm not competing against Tony. I'm not competing against Lars Smith and Leah. I'm competing against me. And it's the same with your business. You just got to do the best job you can do every single time, and it's what happens.
And when they're competing against themselves, they have something to teach you, you can learn, and then you can apply, right? Instead of seeing them as an adversary, where I'm gonna block off Lars, I'm gonna block off Leah Sourdough, and I'm not even gonna pay attention because I'm sick of their bones because they're doing so good. No, instead you look at them as people who are lifting the tide as well.
The whole industry. It's not one of us, it's all of us together that we're growing that way too. It was funny, I was almost casted for a reality TV show.
Really?
And
I think you do good on TV.
I think it would be fun, but I don't want to be cast as the villain, right? And that's not who I am either. I want to be friends with everyone. So it was kind of funny. They're like, it was one of the last ones. They had me a Zoom meeting. It was in back in front of my pizza oven. So they said, what are you going to do to get one over on your competitor? How are you going to prove that you're better than them and smash them? Because, they're big into that TV. Like, how are you going to kick their butt? Oh, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to make friends with them. I'm going to tell them all my secrets. And they're going to tell me all their secrets, and we're all going to be better for it. They're like,
director was like,
yeah, they're like, no, this isn't going to work. I'm sorry. they're not my competition. And that's why I love competing so much. I got to go learn from everyone around me.
Okay, so on the note of competitions, because I do want to talk about 2017 and what happened there. When you look at other competitors on the side, like you may not have anything against them, but you're still trying to win. Mm-hmm. How do you sort of view that environment?
Well, you have to view it. It was funny. I remember in 2017, I was, here I just taken Tony's class. He said, you have to compete. You have to compete. I'm like, fucking Tony says compete. I need to go. I need to compete. So I go to compete and like, okay, well, my manager at the time, I said, Alan, you can do traditional, I'll do non-traditional. He's like, okay. Well, no one's showing up for traditional because everyone's doing Neapolitan. So he's got no one to compete against. And I'm looking at non-traditional. There's Glenn Cybelski. There's Laura Meyer. There's Carmine Tess. I'm like, what the heck did I do? Like, I want to do traditional. This is horrible. So I go do it. And it was funny because I remember Laura was really anxious. Everyone gets anxious up there. And my mom was so funny. We've been doing this for years. She walks up to Laura. And actually, I say this now to everyone I see competing. She says, Laura, what are you doing? She's got this anxious. She was stressed out. I'm making a pizza. I said, Laura, what do you do every day? She goes, make pizza. It was it was neat to see my mom and Laura talk like that. And the girl that's 15 years younger than me that taught me at Tony's school and showed me so much. And there's my mom saying, this is what you do every day. Just do it here. It was neat. And that's the way I think about it also. It's just, that's why it's easy to master. It's when you do it every single day, right? And then just doing what you do here, doing what you know your customers like, you know what you like, and just sharing it there. It's really about adapting to your surroundings. What kind of oven are you using? It's usually just auditoriums. It's really cold. When are you pulling your dough out? Are your ingredients warm, room temperature, or are they really, really cold? Knowing that stuff before, everyone gets so worried about everyone around them. Oh, I'm competing against him, them, that. You making your pizza now. How are you going to do that best pizza, and how are you going to pull that off, right?
It's the same mindset in business. Mm-hmm. Focus on you. Focus on making the best pizza that you can make. Focus on running the best business you can run, and let the rest take care of itself.
Exactly. Yeah. We always be working for more, always growing more too, right? I feel if you're not growing, you're dying, right? You think you know it all. I've seen this in the restaurant industry. Nothing to learn. We know it all. We're the best there is. Sales just take a big nosedive because when you're not working for it, someone else is. And working for it doesn't mean giving away half-price pizzas. Working for it just means working operation, making sure, like I said, they're as efficient as possible, that they're consistent as possible. I was also raised to make a burger like McDonald's. Not to make it a crappy burger, but to make the same crappy burger every time you come in, right? When you've been around for 40 years, we are Friday nights for people. They come and they depend on us every Friday night for that family meal. So we need to be consistent because you're part of a community. You're not just a pizzeria. That living, breathing thing that you are, that restaurant, isn't just for you. It's for the whole community also. They need that. They need that positivity. I think that's why I've been able to do so well with this, with my smiling face, is I am pushing positivity. I'm sharing, I'm teaching. I think people need that. I think there's so much, it's so easy to get stressed out about everything in the world right now. I was watching an old Oprah once, and there was a guy in there talking about now in a 24-hour news cycle, we see more death and destruction than people used to see in their whole life in one 24-hour news. No wonder everyone's stressed out and needs help, and a lot of PTSD because there's not a lot of positivity to look out there. It's always used to be breaking news every once in a while. Right now, every time you turn on the TV, breaking news, emergency, breaking news. Well, this is just positivity. This is come bring your family down, share a meal, break some bread with your family, and just don't worry about dinner tonight. We got you. And that's really what you're selling here.
I think it's a known fact. Positive food tastes better.
Right?
Like if the employee in the back is happy, they're pressing out the dough a little bit more gently. They're not like beating it up because they're beating themselves up inside. And so I love that you have that approach to pizza, and I love that you have that approach with your staff. It's like make everything run flawlessly and do the best you can. It's not going to be perfect, but when you can sort of control that variable, everything is just going to run its course.
Yeah, it's amazing just taking the stress out, what a difference it makes. And like I said, I continue to learn. Right? So I'd hired Tim to come in and help me with both restaurants. Well, I hired a regional manager before general managers. So I kind of did backwards, and I really went backwards. I just threw him in the restaurant. I said, okay, you need to run it. Didn't really help him, let him run the restaurant for a year. And what I saw is he got into it. He started running it like a small business owner. He needed to work every second. He couldn't not be here. He needed to make every order. And I realized I hired him to be a regional manager, not a shift manager. So I said, nope, that's it. We're going to pull you out, put more off on the staff below you. Oh, all of a sudden, he was getting burnt out. All of a sudden, he feels great again. He's happy to be here. And then I said, realize, you're not a general manager. You're a regional manager. We need regional managers for you, or a general manager for you as a regional. And he stepped out even more. So once again, he's the head of my business with these people. It's his positivity goes down. When he was having a bad day, 2 restaurants were having a bad day. So now he can focus on pushing the team in a positive way, and we're just growing the team. It's just it's so neat to see, and especially last night, being able to see all my employees in one place and know that it's not on their backs. It's them pushing us up together. It's all together, because I can't do any of this without them making the pizza every day, and they're doing what they're doing every day. That's why I love taking them out to lunch. I love taking them to Vegas for all-inclusive trips. There's employees at That's Some Pizza I've been asking for 5 years to join me in Vegas, and don't, because they don't like flying, they don't like taking trips. But every year I will always ask them. I asked them 3 or 4 times already. I said, I know you're going to say no, but I'm still going to invite you because I appreciate you that much, and I want you to be a part of my team, and I know you love it here. Eventually they'll break and they'll do it. But it's funny how some people don't want that and some people do want that. But for me, Pizza Expo is such an amazing, that's what changed my life, especially being in these islands here in the middle of nowhere where no one, customers always go, I'm from New York, I know what good pizza is. No, you don't. You don't do pizza for a living. I do. But still you have that, we're isolated out here. You're told that over and over and over again. That's why when I competed in 2017, I shared what I did with the world, and the world said, good job. It kind of made me realize the more you share, the better it is, right?
Can you remind listeners, for those who don't know, what did you make and what was in it?
It was the Gorgonzola Vegetarian, was the 2017 non-traditional winner of the Caputo Cup in Atlantic City. Then my manager made a pepperoni and onion pizza, which made second place in traditional style, which made That's Some Pizza the top a competitive pizza in the United States. And so my Gorgonzola Vegetarian Pizza was one for me that I'd actually came up with about 8 years before then. It was with our homemade Gorgonzola dressing that my family had been using for years. I just wanted to put on a pizza. Being a chef in the 80s and early 90s, there was, now we have vegan, we have, gluten-free, you got all these different choices for people. There wasn't even vegetarian options in the 80s. You either got a salad or you got a steak or a burger. It wasn't there. So it was always fun for me to be more creative, to do vegetarian things. So I loved making this Gorgonzola dressing. Then I did a thinly sliced red onions, some garlic, pine nuts. I love the way pine nuts roast in the oven. You get that earthy flavor with the sweetness of the thin red onions, and you get the creaminess of the Gorgonzola. And then actually after the bake, we put feta cheese on it. What I found is if you take the cubed feta cheese, you put it through a Cuisinart, it makes it really fluffy, and you put it over the top, the residual heat from the pizza actually melts it for a finishing cheese, and it gives it a creamy, like Chev-like texture on it. Yeah, and it's salty feta. And so that you have the salt and the sweet and the garlic and the earthy pine nuts, and of course you do it all in our sourdough starter, which that has such an earthy and just the developed flavors of the crust in there. It really made for great pizza. So when I went to go compete at Caputo Cup, I wanted to do a pizza. It was the only menu that I had made that was on our menu, and I wanted to represent who I was as a chef, and it won. So
I like that. Cool. Some people, they create pizzas just for the competition. I like that you stood on what you know and what you're proud of, and you're like, I'm gonna put this out into the world because this is what people at my restaurant eat, and if the judges love it, they love it, and it won. That's good. And then now you don't have to retrain your staff about this crazy new pizza that you made for the expo.
There's people that were doing gold leaf on their pizzas, Wagyu beef, lobster. A friend of mine, I won't say his name, but he knows what I'm talking about. David, he had a bone-in rib on this pizza. But it was just, but it's all, and for me, and it was a good pizza. And that David has made some pretty amazing award-winning pizza since then. I'm not going to throw him all the way under the bus, just halfway under the bus. But even to this day, he's still learning. He didn't have a great experience that time, but he's won a few championships since then. He's an amazing pizzaiolo. But the idea is, how can I market that? I know at that point, 8 years, I loved that pizza. I knew my customers loved that pizza. I know what I did. I know I loved my crust. I never competed before Tony because I thought, oh, I'm here. What do I know? Everyone thinks their pizza is the best. I would never compete. But the reality was I didn't have the confidence to do it. That's, doing the classes for me gave me the confidence, like for you too. The confidence you even talk about, even just hearing you talk about what you learned from Tony and the Massimilianos and Pasquales there, it's amazing. Confidence really goes through this. And it's always amazes me too, so much of the competition isn't just the food, but it's actually the confidence and sharing it with the judges and showing them that you know what you're doing also makes a big, big difference too.
For sure, 100%. And when you won, how did that affect your business, if at all?
Well, a lot. I mean, nothing's real unless it's on TV, right? So here I am. I remember I won, and there's people like, who's the guy with the beard from Seattle? Like, what's going on? Who is this guy? Even though at that point I had been in the business for 35 years. I mean, so it was neat being the newcomer, but really doing this longer than a lot of people that are out there doing it, right? I apprenticed from 10 years old with master chefs from Sicily, but we were just so isolated, no one really knew who we were. But for business-wise, for us, I tell you what, being on the news was big. I was on a King 5 affiliate 3 different times, cooking shows, different morning shows. That's a whole different experience, let me tell you. Getting up and starting filming at 5:30 in the morning, having to turn your oven on at 4:30, when you just turned it off at 11 o'clock the night before.
Wow, that's intense.
And then knowing that you're speaking, doing something like we're doing here now, but to millions of people. Luckily, the first interview I had, it was a really nice lady. She's the one that actually started the Asian sound, very Asian movements. Have you heard about that one? She's Korean, and on her TV show, someone made a comment, oh, she's very Asian, she's too Asian. So she started a whole movement about it. It's really cool. Michelle Lee is her name.
Okay.
But she was just so nice and so sweet and so bubbly, just really helped me be relaxed. Knowing I was talking to a million people on this TV cast like that too, really made a really positive impression for me just with dealing with TV in general. And just once you're on TV, like I said, nothing's real till you're on TV, and that things just blew up for us. Winning that got me on news 4 times. I mean, that's big. For me also, at that point, I had my sourdough was registered with the Sourdough Library in Belgium. It's something I've been pushing because going to Pizza Expo, learning from Pizza Man Dan, learning from everyone there, Glenn Saibosi, they said to be different. Michael Shepard said, you have to be different. So you need to be unique. But we had the sourdough that we never shared before. It's like, well, let's share a sourdough starter. And that's really, because you open in the 80s, no one wanted to know what sourdough. Even now, sourdough doesn't pull well in the United States. I think it's Domino's or Pizza Hut just started a new San Francisco sourdough crust that's in every country in the world except the United States because it doesn't pull well in the United States.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that nuts?
What? That is weird.
So that's where I've been pushing my uniqueness, showing that sourdough. That's why our pizzas tasted different than everyone else's, because we had this. We've never refrigerated 129, then it was 125-year-old sourdough starter that's just always been growing, always been fed, making something unique that way. So once I won, that made me unique enough to be noticed by the Sourdough Library. So I had a gentleman fly out from Belgium, did an interview with me and my mother and our original business partner, flew back, then approved it, and then we had this guy, Carl de Smet, the sourdough librarian, flew out from Belgium and made a documentary movie with me and my sourdough starter, took some of it and went up the Alaskan highway and then took 3 different stars and went back to Belgium where my sourdough is in this sourdough library. So Now I've been, on news. I've got the sourdough. I'm number 104 in the sourdough library in Belgium. I actually went and visited it in 2019. I'm internationally known because of that now, and having that win too behind you is pretty amazing. Vito with his stuff online. What's his last name? Iacopelli. He won a Caputo Cup too. That's where he based all his stuff off as well. It was just kind of cool to see that on the other Italian side of it. So having a win like that, and really it's the biggest thing with these competitive chefs. You can get people to make great pizzas and have great restaurants. Knowing how to market that sometimes, you'll notice you'll only maybe see 10 to 15% of the people who actually win and become chefs or winning chefs like that really market it, really get a firm. Like I had to hire a PR firm once again, I had to elevate who I was. I didn't do this competition for me to win. I did this competition for people to know about Sourdough Willy's, That's Some Pizza, to get butts in seats. So knowing to share that and get that out there, that's really what got people in here.
I think that's a great bird's eye perspective of the business. It's like you're seeing like what needs to be done. It's not just I'm going to win this competition. It's like step one is get the people in the right, positions to win, because once you do the marketing, they're going to come. Step two, do some marketing. Step three, try a different set of marketing, and that is doing the competition. Step four, get the PR company to drive more butts and seats. It's like all of it is like wholesome, holistic, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Do you just go with the approach of, I'm going to try it all?
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I got the opportunity to compete in Portugal, to represent United States last year in Portugal. Amazing experience. Burnt my pizza, but hey, I had a great time. I got to meet these chefs from all over the world, chefs from Argentina, chefs from Puerto Rico, chefs from Australia, chefs from Germany, the Italian acrobatic team that travels around doing all the competitions there. Antonio Spirito, the master of Naples. I got to meet him. It was unbelievable. So now the Argentinian guy, he's actually the one that's going to be teaching the class with me at Pizza Expo. Pablo Gil is his name. You will be seeing him soon on America's Got Talent. He auditioned and actually got really far in Spain's Got Talent. And now because he did so well there, he's going to be on America's Got Talent next. So he's going to be the one I'm working with in Spanish, doing my class at Pizza Expo, mastering dough with Sourdough Willy.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then also the German chef there, after he's going to come to Pizza Expo, he's going to try to compete, and when he's done there, he's going to come visit me up here for a week. William Rodriguez from Puerto Rico, I see him every time in the shows. It's just expanding and growing my pizza family, because it's always interesting. I'm always trying to elevate Pizza United States, because it's really been drugged through the dirt by Domino's, Pizza Hut being the cheapest thing out there. People expect $5 pizza. By going to Italy and going to Portugal and really representing us well there, I realized that it's in other places we're thought of with more respect. So I just want to bring that same respect in other international countries here as well.
No, I think you have such an awesome approach to it all. And it's just like, what can I do? Ultimately, it boils down to, what can I do to grow this business? You are in charge. You are responsible. And I love to hear that it's not out of ego. Never thought it was, right? But you are widely known in this pizza community, and even on like local news. Who's the pizza guy in Seattle? Will Grant, right? But it's all for the business. And I just want to say I love that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But what's important too is that like you have the food backing to support that.
Absolutely, right?
Because like you could get lucky and win a competition and then go do the PR. But if the pizza sucks, no bueno. And before we wrap up this conversation, I want to talk a little bit more about the pizza. You offer New York, Detroit, Sicilian, Roman. You're going to introduce
Well, so we have New York, Detroit, Sicilian, gluten-free, Roman. God, what's the other one here? What am I forgetting? We have 6 styles here, right? Artisan also. I used to do Neapolitan, but I do artisan also. Thank you, buddy. So we do artisan also. We did do Neapolitan, the true true values of the Italian version of the Neapolitan, but it was hard to get chefs that could, and pizzaioli that could teach to cook a pizza in 60 seconds at 900 degrees. So I threw it down to 900, added my sourdough to it, called artisan. Because I found out also my customer base, they didn't care if it was true Neapolitan style pizza. They wanted a crispy pizza quickly at their table. So might as well do what's easier on my staff and still make a great product and get it out to the customers that way.
And I think I know the answer to this, but how do you make sure with 6 styles of pizza, you streamline that process? What do you do?
Well, I really learned a lot, as much as I thought I know, or I always look at it, I'm always trying to learn something, right? So through the Caputo Cup, joining the World Pizza Champion team, getting to learn from Nick Bogaz, Mike Bausch, and Tony Gemiani, you get to watch these guys, not just them, Lee Huntsinger, Joe Carlucci, Siler Chapman. These are the best pizza makers in the world, and I'm on speed dial with these guys. Melissa Rickman, Anthony DeSouza. It's amazing. What do I know? Professor Pizza. And all the Chicago guys too. Why can't I think it was? I'm feeling like a butthead now, but one of the Anthonys. One of the 8. All the Anthonys. It's great. I get them all right, but just being able to learn from them and share that way also is really, really important. But the biggest thing for me is as I got to travel more, I got to help Tony with some of his classes and learn from him that way. And that's where I really learned to kind of how I could share my craft better. And one of the things I learned from Tony is one dough to master them all. That was really, I love the idea of that. So I have a pan style dough. I call it pan, but really it's a Roman style dough. And I use it for 3 of my styles of pizza, and then also sandwiches and baguettes. So that pan dough I use for my Roman, pushed out in a pala style. I use it for Detroit. I use it for Sicilian. Then we make baguettes out of it. And then the pala style we cut down for sandwiches out of one dough. Our walk-in here is, I think, 6 feet by 8 feet. We have to stack the dough up. You can see the pans. We're always pushing out dough here. There's some there that they baked off earlier today. We're always rotating. It's a process here. So we feed our starter. 2 days later, we use that starter to make our dough. We make that pan dough. We let it sit for 3 days. On the 3rd day, we push it out in the pans and we let it sit overnight for 18 hours. We let it rise from about a 1/2 inch up to 3 to 4 inches. Then we bake it off. Then we let it sit for another day because it's sourdough and it tastes better after it's been let it sit for 1 day and cook it the next day. So 2 days on the starter. You got 3 days on the dough. You got 1 day on the pre-ferment rising to be cooked off, and then 1 day to cool. So this is 7-day dough we're using here.
What a process.
And you don't look at the end, you look at the beginning. I'm making dough today to be used in 7 days now. And it's easy that way. If you look at, okay, we ran out of 8 bins, we need another 8 bins of dough to push out the dough that way. And then, so here we also use an artisanal blend now too, because the Neapolitan. So we actually use it for 6 things here. Artisanal pizza is also our pan pizza we use here. So it just shows, having a dough that you use for several things makes it really possible with a small kitchen, right? So we're doing 6 styles of stuff out of one dough, and it makes me feel useless for my award-winning New York dough only does 1 style of pizza. Like, what am I doing here? I need to do 3 or 4 more things out of it.
So the key unlock is using the same dough, the same process, but then, same formulation, but how you process the dough.
How you manipulate the dough for the Roman and bake it up, bake it.
That's where it changes.
How you push out for a Sicilian or Detroit. And then how you top, Detroit's the sauce hot on top. Sicilian's more like a New York style and placed that way. I could do a grandma style here too if I wanted, but it's at the point like
more
how
pans.
Yeah, right? I basically, Lloyd's Pants owns me now because I have so many pans.
I own so many pizza makers already.
Oh my God, I think at this restaurant we have about 300 pans and we have about 200 pans at the restaurant.
So you're making a ton of pizza here, and one of the things you told me in your walk-in cooler, the most expensive thing for a pizzeria is what?
In the walk-in? Oh, cheese. Cheese is the most expensive thing in any pizzeria. It's so funny. I tease some companies because they'll do like the the whole marketing for these companies, well, you can use less cheese in your pizza. And then they have this giant cheese pull on it. Like, well, that's not less cheese, guys. That's more cheese. Don't market it for more. We want to sell less to get it out there.
We won't name any names.
None of that at all.
But you can name the name that you are using today.
I use Baccio cheese. I'm really behind them.
And how
any
and
of the
why?
brands with Performance Food Group. Well, for me, it really comes down to I'm remote. Who can I get out here? Who can I get out here? Consistency. I've made a relationship. I have a prime vendorship with Performance Food Group.
What is a prime vendorship?
So that means I get a discount for, I think it's doing 95% of all my products go through one company. So I get a discount and I get buyback in a lot of this stuff. So they'll give me a percentage back on all the food I get for them. Any way I can get a deal, any way I can take the bottom line down, it's gonna make in the long run. So I'm always trying to make deals with purveyors and use purveyors foods. You know, I love a lot of the products out there. A lot of these people use amazing products, but when you're spending a lot of money on the top of your pizza, I'm spending 7 days making the dough here. How much stuff do I need to put on there, make it amazing, or to really take away from what the dough is itself, right? I can get a great, that Performance Cup and Char is amazing. It's beautiful. I don't have to use some name brand. It's not what it's about. New York pizza isn't about name brand. That's not what New York is, right? New York's dirty, gritty. It's what you got now, right? That's one thing that got me about Tony's school over there, because he had the slice house next to the restaurant, fine dining, sit down, amazing, busy restaurant. Slice house, they're a little rude. They got the music blaring. You come in when you want to get it. And at first I was like, why is this happening? And I realized because that's a slice house. That's the idea of it. That's what you need, right? You don't need to be kissing everybody's butt to come to the door. You need to throw the slice and go, hey, he's a New Yorker, get out of here, right? And it buys into the whole concept of what you're doing there. So I blare, if we weren't in here, we'd be blaring rock and roll music in here, right? Just because that's the slice house vibe.
That's fine. But still, at the end of the day, though, it still has to taste good.
Mm-hmm. Right? Absolutely, yeah.
And so the products you're choosing to use, especially if it's the one that you use the most of, it not only has to taste amazing, but it also has to fit your margins.
Exactly, and it has to be consistent for what I need. I can't have it change. It's so funny now, talk about cup and char pepperoni. I remember buying from Cisco years and years and years ago, and every once in a while we get these pepperonis that would cup up with grease in them. Oh, this is a horrible batch, send it back, send it back. Now everyone's got to have cup and char pepperoni. But it's that consistency. It's having someone you can depend on that's going to bring your flour to you. It's going to bring your salt and sugar to you. It's going to bring your boxes to you. Who's going to negotiate with you on the prices. They're going to take you to a food show. They're going to take you out for drinks and stuff like that every once in a while. That appreciates who you are as a business owner. And then it's all partnerships, right? It's not, this is a living being, but it's not just us in it. It's the laundry service. It's our maintenance man making sure it's running smoothly. It's food purveyors, and it's the point of sale system. It's everything. It's the alcohol distributors, and no one's going to be perfect, right? People always talk to me, which POS do you like the most? I like the one I'm using now the most, right? I like Toast a lot, but there's always negatives to each one. For a long time we did Hunger Rush. They were awesome for deliveries. They would map with Google and everything. I didn't like some of their credit card features. We had so much business at once, they kept dropping. So every Friday night, all our online orders would dump. We had to get something new. So we go to Toast. When I first got to Toast, they didn't do delivery. They were just a dine-in restaurant. So I had to make their whole point of sale system work for my restaurant. Well, because of COVID, they've changed more to takeout and delivery. So they've added a lot more features. But whether it's Performance, whether it's Toast, whether it's Hunger Rush, there's going to be hiccups in the line. And you have a lot of stress here. My team has a lot of stress. I don't want them venting at my partners that way too. If they're mad at themselves, they're going to yell at the food distributor. You think a food distributor is going to bring you 3 cases of cheese from cash and carry if you just yelled at him for 15 minutes? Or you think he's going to go out of his way, be nice, and drop it off? We're all a partnership, all a team. Nothing goes perfect. Whether it's for us with our customers or it's with our purveyors, shit happens. You got to be able to roll punches. You got to be able to laugh, because otherwise you'll be crying all the time.
And one more thing you said, you were going to make the switch to get a hog.
Yes.
Why?
I used to actually shred all my own cheese, a little pelican head on a
Pelican head on the Hobart?
Yeah, and it was something we did for years and years and years. But the problem was, At the time, we did an 80-20 mix of mozzarella and provolone, so you'd have to cut it down, do the math, get it correctly. And the Pelican head only cuts like little blocks like this, so you have to sit there and do it. And you gotta remember, I've been doing this a long time. The Pelican head would break before Amazon. I'd have to go find some way over the international district in the city, in the middle of some really sketchy places, find this gear, go through these warehouses, bring it back. Half the time, the gears would be wrong. So I just spent $500 in 6 hours in Seattle being scared of my life for the wrong piece of equipment, or you get a cheap one that would just snap when the first time you use it. But really for me with that, it came down to, it costs more for me to pay someone because the labor went up so much right before the pandemic, or a few years before the pandemic, probably 10 years, labor shot through the roof. I was spending so much money on people shredding, might as well get the bagged one. Well, now labor's high and now food's high also.
So now you got to invest in equipment.
Now I get the equipment to get down again. Plus, when you buy, so cheese, people understand, is a commodity. It isn't the same price every time. Whatever it's sold in the market is what you get. So you'll get so much for so much pound from every block of cheese you get. When it's shredded, it costs more, right? They charge more. All those horrible fillers you don't want in the cheese, they charge you a lot for them and to give it to you that way. So if you can get a full block, you can actually, once again, work with your purveyor, work with Performance, or, I don't think there is Cisco or FSA anymore, right? They always change, but work with them, find out what's cheapest for you. With something like Cheese Hog, Cheese Hog was always pissed me off.
Why?
Because Cheese Hog, the original owner, retired like 15 years ago and wouldn't make them anymore. So you would have to find them on eBay, and like everyone would snatch them. Now Globe makes them, they make them, everyone, but they stopped making them for 15 years. You could not find them anywhere. I was so pissed, like it's just a grater, like someone make it. But they had the patent on it. So luckily they started creating again, so now you can get them again. And it's, what a freaking difference the Cheese Hog makes. I mean, so we would take, one bin, or it should be 4 bins of cheese would take like an hour and a half. Now, 4 bins of cheese will take 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes.
And you get that quality mozzarella from the whole block, shredded yourself, no fillers.
Baccio, kiss of buffalo.
Grazie. So all beautiful cheese, no fillers, and it costs less. Just one investment, Cheese Hog, you're done. Game over.
Done, right? Yeah, and it's.
I love it.
Why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you?
Will, before we end this conversation, I need to ask you one question. You have been so generous with your time, and thank you for showing me around your beautiful pizzerias, your beautiful staff, sharing your abundant knowledge with me and the listeners.
Right on. Well, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my story with you.
Come on, man. You're the talent here. Thank you. Final question for you. What's good dough?
No casualties.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You brought it back.
Yeah, we did it.
Sorry, man. That was great.